Hello, Paul Campanis here, and I'm going to talk about a experience we had yesterday at Siloam Health. It was called a cultural immersion experience, and it was put on by Bobby Shriver and Katie Richards. And a lot of my friends and family couldn't make the event, so I wanted to just give a little recap for their sake and for anyone else who would be interested. Siloam Health was started many years ago, and their mission is to share the love of Christ by serving others in need through health care. And there's a brochure here that talks about that. And also, it was a very impressive presentation that Katie made. And what she said was that Nashville has become the Ellis Island, the new Ellis Island, for three reasons: because of the jobs here and because of the moderate climate in Nashville. A lot of people that come from like sub-Saharan Africa would not want to live in, say, Chicago or Boston or New York or Canada. And they come to Nashville because it's a very moderate climate. And then they talked about how people like to come here because it's very hospitable, which I think is a reflection of the heart of Nashville, to really, that we have a lot of Christian people here that really want to reflect love and show love and extend love to people that are strangers, and I'll go into that a little bit later. But Katie did an amazing presentation based on some statistics from a group called Nashville Next, and she put a lot of slides up showing how the immigrant population in Nashville is growing. She talked about immigrants and refugees and what the difference is, sort of that immigrants choose to come to Nashville, refugees or choose to leave their country, and refugees are forced to leave, but that's not, and that all refugees are immigrants. And so she helped a lot with that terminology, but the safest thing to say is that they're all immigrants. Some of those immigrants are refugees and so forth. This is a little personal for me because of my family background, and I'll go into that. My family is Greek on my father's side, and my grandfather came here in 1909 to the United States to, we think to avoid being drafted into the Turkish army. The Greeks and the Turkish people have not really had good relationships over the centuries, and the part of Greece that I'm from had a lot of occupations, military occupations, by the Turks, by the Nazis, by the Italians, and so forth. And it's been that way throughout history. So my grandfather came in 1909, and then he brought my grandmother over in 1935, and then in 1946 my grandfather died. My father was born in 1937, and my grandfather died when my father was 9 years old. And so my grandmother was there with my father, a single mom. She couldn't speak English, and she never really learned English. And it was very hard for them. And my grandmother went to work in a raincoat factory making raincoats. And she'd bring the scraps home and make pillows and blankets and quilts with the scraps from the raincoat factory. And then my father worked very hard and got a full scholarship into Harvard, and that's really what brought them out of poverty. But there were other Greek people there that befriended them, and Irish people, and so they were able to sort of get connected, and that's one of the reasons personally I'm so interested in helping the immigrants that come to Nashville to get connected, because of the way it affected me and my family. And my wife Melanie here is also an immigrant. I met her in when I was in college in London. We went to the same church, and that's how we met, and then she came to the United States and immigrated by choice from England to the United States. And so people move to Nashville for a lot of different reasons. Sometimes people move here for, generally though, Nashville is seen as a very family-friendly place. And I was living in Boston and London and Los Angeles, and the focus of the people there is more on making money, growing business, and commerce. And they want to have that focus in their lives. And that's just what I noticed personally. I know that there are exceptions. But people in Nashville really want to focus on their relationships, specifically their families and their neighbors and so forth. And that's why I wanted to come to Nashville. I had 3 little kids, and I wanted to move to Nashville to really, have a more child-friendly environment for them to be raised in. And so I want to talk about the church that I go to is Fellowship Bible Church, and we're partnered with Siloam Health. And one of the reasons that I'm really interested in immigrant populations in Nashville is because we're in a world now that is very location independent. Now that the internet has come along, we live in a very location independent world. So I can be communicating, in amazing ways all across the world. And this really came to the forefront of my mind about 3 days ago. I was in the gym with my wife, Melanie, and I was lifting weights, and it's been a little cold and rainy here, so we're not getting as much exercise as we otherwise would like. And Melanie was on the treadmill, and her mother comes in on this little phone that she has, this little iPhone, and her mother's in London, and she's in her kitchen, and there I am at the weight room, but all of a sudden I'm in my mother-in-law's kitchen in London. And so it's mind-blowing. It messes with your mind. I mean, it's really tough to get your brain around this sometimes. Just all of the location independence kinds of things. And then you start having, daydreams about things, and it's all very blurry. All of a sudden location is not such an issue. And as Christians, Jesus has told us to go into all nations and make disciples and baptize them and teach them to obey everything he's commanded, what we know is the Great Commission at the end of the book of Matthew in chapter 28, verses 18 through 20. And so we have this commission, and we're excited about that. We're really enthusiastic about that, and we really want to help get the word out and so forth. And we spend millions of dollars as churches raising money. We raise money for mission work. We send missionaries out, and this is right, and this is good. But we also have the mission field right here in a very different sort of way since the late 90s and early 2000, and the changeover in our minds is very gradual. But I think it's really coming right into the forefront of my mind that the world is here. That we don't have to go so much as we can go through this device that we have. I'm going right now to possibly, millions of people. I don't think that many people will watch my video, but or are interested in what I have to say. In fact, I know they're not, but that's fine. But the fact that it could and is powerful, and I don't think that power should be lost in our desire to get the word out. And so, but what that does is it does a lot of things. It means we don't have to travel as much, and some people can't travel. Some people don't want to travel. Some people can't afford to travel. Then as far as language skills, if I was to go to China and try to learn Chinese, that would be very difficult for me. Melanie here is a linguist, and she speaks lots of languages, and she's really good at that. But I'm having trouble with English, and it's been 57 years. And so, a lot of people just can't get up and go because they're taking care of family, elderly parents, children, and so forth. And so I think that it's very quick. If I help someone become a Christian here in Nashville and say they're Chinese, they can get on this iPhone or FaceTime or Skype and talk to their family back home. And it's a pretty amazing thing. And also a really important thing about coming to the United States or coming to Nashville and becoming a Christian is a lot of these people have never heard of Jesus. They've never heard about Christianity. They've lived in places where there is no religious freedom. If they become a Christian, they get heavily persecuted. They get put in jail, or they just don't have the knowledge of this. No one talks about it. There are no Bibles laying around, and so we have an amazing opportunity to impact these people, and these people could be incredibly hungry and desirous of knowing about this message. And so I think that's all I'll say about that. Do you have anything to add, Melanie?
Not just yet.
Okay.
I think you found it here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I will in a minute.
So there was an incredible irony. So part of the exercise with Siloam Health was that we would go out, we'd meet at Siloam Health, see Katie's amazing presentation, met up with a lot of people, 40 or 50 people from our church, and then we went out to the different markets like Fresh Market. We went out to Nolensville Road, which happens to be very close to where I live, which I like the juxtaposition of that because maybe God really put me here to have a heart for these people, and I think He has, and I'll go into that as we continue. So the irony of it was, though, Siloam Health is all about getting people healthy, and then we go to these markets like Fresh Market, K&S Market, Inter-Asia Market, Bhutan, right at the end of Edmondson Market. And these are some of the markets on Nolensville Road. So we went in there, we looked at all the food, talked about it, how wonderful all this new kinds of food, lots of different fruit and vegetable, lots of different packaged foods. And then what kept coming over us was, wow, this food is really healthy. Yeah, this stuff's really good for you. And wow, these sea vegetables are amazing. Look how many there are. Look at all these, mushrooms, different kinds of mushrooms. And look at all the fruit and veg, all these different kinds of fruit and veg. We hardly ever see, in the supermarket. We have bananas, oranges, and apples, and more. But, there was such a myriad of different, it was amazing. And then when I turned around to leave, this was the Inter-Asia Market that I was at, I saw all the fast food places. And I said, wow. And the irony is that we're helping them get healthy, but maybe really they're helping us get healthy. And Melanie has a story to share about a friend of hers that she...
Yeah, so about 10 years ago, I think it was, there was a really nice Indian lady that was, her daughter went to school with our daughter, and being from London, I kind of miss the Indian restaurants. I mean, we have a few here, but they're few and far between. But anyway, I wanted to be able to learn how to make some of the things in my own home. So I befriended this lady, and it would just be a true delight to go over to her apartment and watch her in her kitchen. I said, look, can I just come over and just watch you make things, make food? And so she thought I was a bit weird, but I didn't care. And so anyway, I would just go over there, and she would just make these most amazing things. And as she made them, she would be telling me, and this is way before I think it's fairly common knowledge now that turmeric is an anti-inflammatory. Well, this was 10 years ago when
no one was talking about it
then. And, she was telling me about, not just the turmeric, but every single ingredient. She would say, and this is good for this, and this is good for that. And she was I don't know, she was a fairly young mom. And I was like, well, how do you know all this stuff? Did you study this at college? And she'd be like, no, we just know it, it's passed down through our families. And I'm like, gosh, I wish I had all this knowledge passed down in my family.
We're passing down Happy Meals.
Yeah. And so, anyway, so I learned a ton of stuff, and I made it my business to, as much time as I could spend with her, hang out with her and learn from her because, it was also around about the time of 2007, 2008, the whole economic downturn, and so I was quite conscious of, we better start getting equipped here and, knowing how to, not spend so much money and just do things on the cheap. And, so I thought, what better way than to befriend somebody from India who, they're very frugal and they're very resourceful. And plus, I mean, the food is just delicious. So yeah, I learned a ton from her, and I was just always so impressed with all the little anecdotal information that she would give me about things like fenugreek seeds and turmeric and
Show me
just
drink.
everything.
What are you drinking?
So I'm drinking here lemon and ginger. So I juice the lemon, and I make ginger juice through the juicer, and I make it into ice cubes. So I just add a cube in, and then I put a little bit of turmeric root in there and some black pepper, because apparently you need the black pepper in order for the turmeric to absorb.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm drinking here.
Great.
And it's,
So you see what happens when you obey and do what you're supposed to do, you know, you get blessed. And the blessing is here, and the real irony of another real irony of the situation is we're going to go help these people, but we're the ones that need the help with our health. Americans are probably the least healthy people, and when these people come here, they get all the diseases we get. So it would behoove us, and me personally, to learn from these people and to befriend them and to learn from them. And, you know, it's amazing the blessing that's there for me. And, you know, that's sort of the way things work. You know, God's economy can be very upside down. Jesus said it's better to give than receive. And we're like, you know, hey, if I give you something, I'm losing it and you're getting it. You know, why is that better? You know? But, you know, God's economy, he knows what he's talking about. So when we love these people and welcome them and befriend them, we will be blessed. And I raised my hand in the meeting with Katie and I said, Katie, what do these people need the most from us? And she said, and this was really, really impactful to me. She said, they need a friend. And that's so true. I mean, I've been to new places before. I mean, I've gone backpacking in other countries, and it's scary. And, you know, just one friend just makes a world of difference, you know, when you're just camping out in a strange place that you probably shouldn't be, and, you know, and you're, 20 years old, even if, maybe you're older or younger, but it doesn't matter. It's scary, you know, and so but just being that one friend, it's amazing the impact that you can have. But, so we have a lot to learn health-wise. I mean, with the fast food here, we're just killing ourselves. And I've been reading this book by Joel Furman called Fast Food Genocide, which really, talks about how we need to do slow food and how we need to do, these inexpensive foods that we saw in these Asian markets were pretty amazing. Katie was also saying that these families have been in refugee camps, I think she said on average of 15 years before they come to the United States. They'll sit in a camp waiting for their paperwork and all the things to, come into, waiting for the government processes to catch up with the number of people. And that's a long time. And these people have learned how to have really strong families in these camps. And
remember that family that we helped from Bhutan? One Christmas there was like a thing that you could kind of sponsor a family from, like an immigrant family, and so we got this family from Bhutan, and I was so delighted because they wanted a TV. But yeah, we learned that they had been, we were trying to get rid of our TV.
Oh, I remember that.
It was a rather large one, so I didn't like it. I was like, yeah, give it to someone else. But no, they had been in a refugee camp for about 10 years or so. Yep. And I was
living in tents, and these families pull together, and they're strong families. And I have a lot to learn from families that have been through they've learned some things that I need to learn. And so she also talked about Katie Richards with Siloam. She also talked about a thing called Gigamunch, which is where these families, as a business, they it's a meal delivery service in inner Nashville where they cook different ethnic dishes like Laotian dishes and all the different, there's like 130 countries, I think she said. And so they have representatives in Nashville or immigrants in Nashville. And they cook these meals, these ethnic meals, and they'll cook them in a big kitchen, and then they'll deliver them to homes in Nashville. And you click online, your first meal's free. And I went to the website. It's amazing how this cultural richness is enriching us, and how blessed we are to have these people here. And, the fact that these people need friendship makes it so easy for us, because all we have to do is say, hi, what's your name, how are you, help them with their English a little bit. And then we came together at the Mariachi Plaza afterwards, and I met a woman there, I can't remember her name, but she told me about a book called Hiding in the Light by Rivka Berry, and I watched some YouTube videos about this. And it's a tremendous melting pot. I mean, this was a person who was just learning about Jesus for the first time, and she was just amazed at how incredible it was to learn about this. She just never knew how wonderful, and amazing Jesus is. And then there's another thing that I really, before I went on this event, I just want to tell you about something I studied in the book of Matthew in chapter 25, the second half, the parable of the sheep and the goats. You really see the conviction that Jesus has about taking care of the sick and the strangers. People that are strangers in Nashville, Jesus really wants us to befriend them and take care of them and to invite them in. And, I have a long way to go in this, but I see this as really, the beginning of a great road for us and for me personally. And one of the things that I'm helping get started, and a lot of other people have come around me in this, is an immigrant soccer ministry. So it's March 3rd today, but March 7th we're starting this up again. That's a Thursday. Every Thursday night from 6 to about 7:30, we have a soccer field behind Fellowship Bible Church, which is at the corner of Concord Road and Franklin Pike, behind the buildings there. There's a beautiful soccer field that Fellowship Bible Church created from the pasture land that was there. And so we have lights and we have a beautiful turf, and we're just inviting immigrants to come out to that. And we just want to get to know you and play some soccer. Not everyone that comes is going to be interested in coming to church, and we understand that, and that's fine. And but we want to welcome you in, and we want to help you get connected with Siloam if you need some sort of health services. There's different things people need, and so that's available. But unless you have any concluding remarks, Melanie, I'll...
Well, yeah, there was a book that I read, it was quite a while ago, called The Invisible Girls by Sarah, and I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name, but it's like The Barge. Like, that's how you spell it, Thebarge. And it was really great because it was about how she, from memory, I think it was like a personal, kind of, what do you say, personal story about how she was recovering from cancer, and she was on a train, and she met this lady who had these 5 little girls, and it was an immigrant family. There was no father, though. This woman just had these 5 little girls. I think they were from Ethiopia. And they were basically coming to this country, and they just weren't familiar culturally with, like, even how to turn the oven on or, like, turn a light switch on or something. So it's like just the impact that Sarah had on this family, just in such a small way. It really helped me to feel empowered to sort of want to do something, and that's actually what interested me in sponsoring an immigrant family one Christmas. Because I just felt like, how, it just doesn't take much, and we can be friends, and so.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and I'll tell you a little story. So my grandmother, she went from this little Greek island of Nisros, and when she was coming to the United States, and she went to Athens, and the story's told to my family how she was in the hotel that night, and she had never seen electricity, and there was a light on. And so it was time to go to bed, so she turned the light on. So she stood up on the bed. My grandmother's a very smart lady, but she stood up on the bed and tried to blow the light out. And pretty amazing, and the journey that these people are on is horrific. It's tough. It's challenging. And I really want to thank Katie Richards and for Bobby Shriver, who's the local ministry outreach person at Fellowship Bible Church, for putting this event together. And I really hope we can do this again. I was really impacted by this, and I was really inspired and encouraged to make these people, my family and my friends. And And I'm really excited about what lies ahead. So thank you for watching our video, and I appreciate your time. Thank you. Bye-bye.